Jimmy attempted to dismiss Elon with sarcastic remarks and smug laughter, but Elon remained composed. After being removed from the stage, Elon responded in a way that captivated the entire nation. It was meant to be a relaxed Thursday evening in Los Angeles. The audience at Jimmy Kimmel Live was settled in, laughter already filling the room from the earlier monologue. The usual late-night rhythm was palpable until Elon Musk stepped onto the stage. He wore a simple dark jacket and a crisp black shirt, his typical composed demeanor evident. The applause was loud, with some cheers louder than others, but there was an underlying tension. Elon smiled briefly, nodded at Jimmy, and took his seat. The conversation started smoothly enough, with Jimmy welcoming him and making a light joke about SpaceX delays. Elon chuckled, but then the atmosphere shifted. Jimmy began flipping through his note cards, a grin that didn't reach his eyes. How does it feel owning a platform where conspiracy theories and memes are the main currencies? The audience laughed, but Elon didn't. I think people are tired of curated narratives, he said calmly. They want truth, even if it's messy, and I'm okay with messy. Jimmy leaned forward. Sure, but you've got folks saying wild stuff on X. Don't you worry you're giving them a megaphone. Elon tilted his head slightly. I worry more about the people who think some voices shouldn't be heard. There was a pause, a moment that wasn't dramatic but felt significant. Jimmy blinked, visibly trying to pivot. Come on, man, he said with mock sincerity. You've been flirting with every political line out there. It's like you want to be everyone's savior and no one's ally. That remark hit a nerve, not just with Elon but with the audience. The smile faded from Elon's face. He didn't raise his voice or shout. He just stared at Jimmy for a second longer than comfortable. I came here to talk about technology and innovation, maybe even share a few things I've never said before. But if you want to talk politics, let's not pretend you're neutral, the audience murmured, unsure how to react. Jimmy shrugged. Hey, I'm just asking questions. It's my job. And it's mine to answer honestly, Elon replied, still calm. But let's not pretend this is a conversation when it's clearly an ambush. The audience murmured again, and Jimmy's grin was gone for a split second. He looked genuinely thrown off. Well, he said, standing abruptly, if this isn't the interview you expected, you're free to go. The production crew hesitated, and Elon didn't move. That's the thing, Elon replied, finally standing. I expected more from you, from this platform. Security approached and it wasn't aggressive, just awkward. A stage manager whispered something, and Elon gave a small, tired nod before stepping off the stage. The cameras cut back to Jimmy, who laughed nervously and said, Well, that escalated. But it didn't feel like a joke. It felt like something had cracked. Backstage, far from the lights and applause, the energy was different. The hallway was colder, quieter, no cameras, no cheering. Just tension hanging in the air. A young production assistant with a headset tried to steer Elon toward the side exit, but Elon didn't follow. Where's Kimmel? He asked flatly. The assistant hesitated. Probably in his dressing room. They said you should. I didn't ask what they said. I asked where he is. A few staffers stopped moving. Elon turned a corner before anyone could stop him. A security guard caught up to him just as Jimmy was stepping out of the green room, rubbing the back of his neck, clearly trying to figure out how to spin what had just happened. He wasn't expecting to see Elon again. Not this soon. What now? Jimmy sighed, arms crossed. Elon stood still, not stepping any closer. You invited me onto your show. You made it about your narrative, then you cut me off. Just admit it. Jimmy let out a short, hollow laugh. Oh, please, don't act like a victim. You've got your billions and your fans. What are you even upset about? It's not about me, Elon replied. It's about what you tried to turn this into. You don't want conversation. You want control. That hit hard. A crew member nearby, holding a phone half hidden behind a fake plant, caught the moment. The conversation wasn't loud or aggressive. It was revealing. You want to talk about free speech, Jimmy fired back, but you've created chaos. That's not freedom, it's just noise. No, Elon said firmly. Noise is when you silence one side and call it balance. For a few seconds, neither man spoke. The hallway lights buzzed quietly overhead. The tension wasn't violent, but it was real. Elon looked around at the crew. You can clip this. You can twist it. Or maybe for once you can let people hear it as it happened. He turned and walked out, the sound of the exit door swinging shut behind him. A few hours later, just past midnight, someone uploaded a 90-second video to X. No graphics, no captions, just raw footage of Elon standing in the hallway, calling out the hypocrisy and refusing to lose his composure. At first, it was just a few thousand views, but by sunrise it had passed 5 million. By noon, it was everywhere. Major news sites ran conflicting headlines. Elon melts down after Kimmel appearance versus uncut Elon footage sparks free speech debate. Viewers weren't fooled. They saw the original clip, watched Elon stay calm, watched Jimmy squirm, and saw how the confrontation wasn't about ego but something bigger, about truth, control, and the cracks in the walls they were told to trust. But the real storm hadn't even begun. By the time coffee shops opened in Portland and gas stations lit up across Ohio, everyone had seen it. Elon's quiet takedown, that unedited, shaky clip from backstage, had traveled farther in 6 hours than any official broadcast could have dreamed. People weren't just watching, they were reacting, and not mildly. On X, the reactions were electric. Stand With Elon shot up first. It wasn't just tech enthusiasts and Tesla fans. Teachers, veterans, small-town mayors, people from all walks of life were quoting his words. You don't want conversation, you want control. That one sentence became a kind of anthem overnight. Not everyone agreed, of course. The internet doesn't move in one direction. Because Team Kimmel was right, and the Elon meltdown started trending too. Some claimed Elon was manipulating the narrative, trying to play the hero. Others said it was just another billionaire whining about criticism. But something was different this time. This wasn't a choreographed PR stunt. There were no press releases, no flashy statements from Elon. He didn't even tweet for 12 hours. In that silence, the public filled the gap. Clips of the show, the backstage footage, and people's own video reactions started flooding every platform. TikToks broke it down frame by frame. Reddit threads analyzed Jimmy's expressions, and Instagram stories lit up with side-by-side comparisons of the broadcast versus what really happened. Then came the big players. Dr. Lenora Hastings, a respected professor of media ethics from the University of Michigan, posted a thread calling Kimmel's actions a calculated misuse of influence, and warned that if late-night hosts become political executioners, we lose the point of public discourse. Others jumped in. Comedian Daryl Nye tweeted, "I've clowned on Musk before, but man, Kimmel tried to make him a punchline and got flattened by facts." Meanwhile, Jimmy stayed quiet. No tweets, no statements, nothing. ABC's PR team released a generic comment saying the segment ended earlier than scheduled due to time constraints. Nobody bought it. Even TMZ called it the worst cover-up since a celebrity birthday fight. Then came a new wave. People who'd felt silenced for years, small creators, independent journalists, scientists who'd lost platforms for controversial findings, all reposted Elon's clip, adding their voices. The question wasn't, do you agree with Elon Musk anymore? It was, what does it say about us if this kind of conversation isn't allowed? The conversation had cracked open something deeper. Frustration, fatigue, and a sense that the people behind the cameras were filtering too much, policing not just opinions, but who's allowed to speak. Then Elon finally broke his silence with a single post, no caption, just a screen grab from the video where he says, "Let people hear it as it happened." It garnered 35 million views in under 2 hours. But the story didn't stop there. While the internet debated and the media scrambled to shape their angles, Elon was planning something bigger, something that would make the backstage clip feel like the warm-up act. Before he went live, he made one call to someone no one expected, and it changed everything. 2 days after the clip broke the internet, a quiet alert popped up on X. Elon Musk is live. No teaser, no promotion, just a black screen that flickered then came into focus. Elon sat in a plain chair, no logo behind him, just a bookshelf and a single desk lamp. He looked rested, but serious, no makeup, no pre-written monologue. Yet, over 900,000 people joined the stream in the first 5 minutes. "All right," he said plainly. "I didn't want to go back and forth on morning talk shows or tweet threads. I figured I'd just talk to people directly. That used to be normal." He paused, then continued. "I don't care that Jimmy didn't like my answers. I care that he never wanted them in the first place." A flood of comments rolled in, but he wasn't watching them. This wasn't a performance. It was something else. Something people hadn't seen in a long time. A public figure not playing a part. Then came the surprise. Elon introduced his guests one by one. Not celebrities, not polished influencers, but voices that had been quieted, deplatformed, ridiculed. There was Jenna Aoki, a former science journalist blacklisted from 2 major networks for reporting on lab leak theories. There was Christopher Darnell, a software developer who lost contracts after refusing to add keyword filters to his AI model. And finally, Dr. Lionel Rivera, a former policy advisor who had warned about digital censorship long before it became a trend. Each of them shared a few words. Not rants, not speeches, just personal stories about what it felt like to be shut out, even when they weren't yelling or spewing hate, just questioning. Elon leaned back as they spoke. He didn't interrupt. He didn't control the narrative. He let it breathe. "Freedom of speech," he said finally, "doesn't mean freedom from consequences. I get that. But lately, consequences look a lot like erasure." He wasn't trying to be poetic. He was trying to be heard. Across America, people tuned in from their phones, TVs, laptops, truck drivers in Nevada, nurses on break in Nebraska, college students in Boise. Not all of them agreed with him, but they listened. Then something unexpected happened halfway through the stream. Elon turned the conversation to the media. "Why do we accept that the only way to speak to the public is through late-night hosts or cable anchors? Why are we still asking for permission? To be heard?" That's when the comment section exploded. People began sharing their own stories of being censored, laughed at, misunderstood. Not all of them were dramatic. Some were small, but they mattered. They started trending within the stream itself, like a rolling wall of suppressed experience. Then, without warning, the screen split. In the corner appeared a familiar face. Not a mainstream journalist, but one who had been quietly gaining traction for years. Arya Salter, an independent media analyst based in Tulsa. "Elon," she said, "I've been watching. I think we're at the beginning of something, not just a moment but a shift. If people can speak without filters, what does that mean for platforms like mine or yours?" He looked at her, then the camera. "It means they'll try to shut it down, but it also means we build something new." By the time the stream ended nearly 2 hours later, over 23 million people had watched some part of it. No commercials, no editing, just people talking. But the consequences of that stream wouldn't stay online. Hollywood was paying attention, and they were about to push back in ways that would catch even Elon off guard. The morning after Elon's live stream, the entertainment world stirred like a hive that had just been kicked. Inside studios across Los Angeles, from Burbank to Culver City, meetings were called, emails circulated, and phone lines buzzed with quiet panic. It wasn't just that Elon had gone off script. It was that millions had tuned in and stayed. Hollywood didn't like losing control. The first strike came subtly. Media outlets began releasing back-to-back op-eds labeling the stream reckless, a breeding ground for misinformation, and a danger to public trust. Anchors on national morning shows parroted the same lines. The coordination was too tight to ignore. But the damage control wasn't working. In Santa Clara, a freelance producer leaked screenshots showing internal ABC emails debating whether to pull all Elon-related clips from their online platforms, not just the Kimmel segment, but everything. It looked like they were trying to erase the moment entirely. People noticed. Then came the sponsors. 3 major advertisers quietly pulled their contracts from Jimmy Kimmel Live within 48 hours. One of them, a legacy insurance firm based out of Des Moines, issued a short public statement that simply read, "We support dialogue, not censorship." Kimmel finally broke his silence the next evening. He opened his show with forced laughter and a new line of jokes aimed at Elon. "So apparently free speech now means billionaires yell at you for not liking their tweets," he smirked, looking into the camera. But the audience didn't laugh the same way, not this time. Online clips of his monologue were met with thousands of comments questioning the sincerity behind the punchlines. "Where's the joke?" one user posted. "All I see is damage control." Meanwhile, Elon stayed quiet again, not a single tweet. Instead, others stepped up. Remember Aria Salter, the independent journalist from the stream? Her following tripled in 4 days. She was invited to appear on podcasts, panels, and live streams. Not by networks, but by people hungry for raw, unfiltered conversation, and she wasn't alone. Dozens of independent voices saw a sudden rise. Formerly ignored accounts were now amplified by thousands. Platforms like Rumble and Locals experienced a spike in sign-ups driven by viewers looking for spaces where speech didn't have to pass through 6 filters in a legal team. Back in LA, some insiders began speaking anonymously to media blogs. One, a veteran writer's assistant from a popular streaming series, said, "It's not about liking Elon. It's about the fact that someone finally called it out. How controlled. Everything is behind the scenes. If a guy like him gets shut down mid-interview, what chance do the rest of us have?" The statement went viral. But the real blow came when a former ABC executive who had worked with Kimmel's team for years posted a scathing thread on LinkedIn. She detailed how producers were encouraged to gently steer interviews away from certain opinions. "It's not censorship in the traditional sense," she wrote, "but it's a script, and if you don't stick to it, you disappear." Within hours, her post was featured on The Hill, The Daily Caller, and even TechCrunch. The facade was cracking. Hollywood could take a joke, but it couldn't take the mirror Elon had just held up. And try as they might, they couldn't control the millions of people now questioning how long they'd been watching a version of reality edited to keep them comfortable. While Hollywood scrambled to save face, Elon was building something new, something no one saw coming, not even his loudest critics. 5 days after the live stream, Elon reappeared, this time not in front of a camera but behind a whiteboard in a conference room in Austin, Texas. No fanfare, no countdown, just a tweet that read, "If the old platforms don't want real dialogue, we'll build our own." At first, most people thought he was being metaphorical, but within hours, rumors started trickling out from inside Tesla and X offices. Elon had quietly assembled a task force, software engineers, media specialists, former journalists, people tired of gatekeeping and ready to try something different. By day 7, it had a name. Open Frame. Not a platform, a framework, a set of tools that allowed creators, journalists, and everyday people to broadcast real conversations with no interference, no shadow bans, no selective algorithm boosts. Just raw chronological reach. You speak, people hear you, or not. Simple. Skeptics rolled their eyes. "Another app," they said. "This will crash like Truth Social or Parler." But they underestimated the moment. This wasn't about conservatives versus liberals or tech geeks versus mainstream media. It had become something else. People versus filters. Authenticity versus orchestration. And Elon didn't try to sell it. He just let it grow. On launch day, Aria went live first. No script, no makeup, just her phone, and a story about how she'd once been told to remove emotion from her reporting because it made readers uncomfortable. Within minutes, over 600,000 people were watching. Then came Dr. Rivera, the former policy advisor, answering questions live about the realities of digital censorship and the slow erosion of public debate. Then Christopher Darnell streamed a raw 2-hour session showing how companies tried to nudge AI development away from unpopular conclusions, even if they were true. Each one was different, but they all had something in common. Nothing was cut. Nothing was padded. It was messy, and it was real. Meanwhile, Jimmy Kimmel Live saw its worst ratings in over 8 years. Advertisers were nervous, segments felt thinner, and audiences weren't reacting the same way. The laughter felt hollow. The rhythm was off and the machine had taken a hit. But Elon wasn't gloating. He didn't mention Kimmel again, not even once. That silence said more than any interview could have. Instead, he posted one sentence to X, pinned at the top of his profile. "You can silence the mic, but not the message." It caught fire. Thousands reposted it. Artists turned it into posters. High school students printed it on t-shirts, and college debate teams opened meetings with it. Some saw Elon as a symbol. Others still criticized him, saying he was using chaos to build power. But no matter the opinion, the same thing kept happening. People were watching again, listening again, talking again. In Nashville, a retired librarian started a weekly stream, on open frame, reading banned books aloud and explaining why they mattered. In Fresno, a former union rep opened conversations with workers who felt ignored by both political parties. In Springfield, Missouri, a single dad started a Q&A stream, just to talk about mental health with strangers who needed it. This wasn't viral hype anymore. It was traction. For the first time in years, people weren't being told what to think. They were thinking out loud together in public. And in that noisy, awkward, beautiful mess of voices, something honest began to take shape. A week passed, then another. Jimmy Kimmel Live went on a planned hiatus, but insiders said the mood on set had changed. The energy was off. Writers whispered about the growing tension, and executives pushed for lighter segments. But the public wasn't paying attention to late-night jokes anymore. They were watching something else rise. Open Frame crossed 10 million active users in under 3 weeks, not just in the US but in Germany, Brazil, South Africa, and South Korea. Conversations were happening in real time, in native languages with no middleman. The platform didn't promise truth. It didn't claim to fix the world. It simply gave the mic back, and that was enough. Elon still hadn't done another sit-down interview. No press tour, no book launch, just silence and the occasional post reminding people to think for themselves. Then one night, with no prior announcement, he quietly went live again. He sat in front of the same bookshelf, wore the same black shirt, and the room was quiet except for the faint sound of traffic outside. "I'm not here to be right," he said. "I'm here because I'm tired of people pretending they know what's best for everyone else. Tired of shows that say they want honesty but can't handle a real answer. And tired of pretending that speech is free when it only flows one way." He paused, leaned forward slightly. "I'm not a hero. I'm not perfect. But I'm not scared to speak. You shouldn't be either. No fireworks, no outro music, just a clean cut to black. And that was the clip that stuck. Not the fight on Kimmel, not the live stream, not even Open Frame's explosive growth. That one moment of a man refusing to beg for the right to speak circulated faster than any trending hashtag. It played in classrooms, in churches, in barbershops, in family group chats. Not because Elon was flawless, but because he was flawed and still willing to stand. The lesson hit differently for everyone. For some, it was a reminder to ask questions, even if the answers make people uncomfortable. For others, it was about courage, being willing to walk out, even if it means walking alone. And for most, it was about this. When someone tries to silence you, speak louder. Not with anger, not with hate, but with truth, even if your voice shakes. We live in a time where the loudest voices often don't say the most, where performance is rewarded and quiet thoughtfulness gets buried. But this moment, what happened with Elon, with Jimmy, with the millions watching, peeled something back. It reminded us that real conversation isn't safe. It's messy, awkward, unpredictable. But it's also the only way forward. And maybe, just maybe, the best way to fix the world is to talk like we're allowed to fix it. If this story made you feel something, if it made you think even for a second, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Stick around. There's more coming. Because the mic's not off, not here, not anymore.